For an entire year, the WWE Universe waited, and tonight their patience was rewarded in the most explosive way possible. The music hit, the lights flared, and the crowd went insane. Every camera was shaking. Every fan was screaming, because she is back. The wait is over, and she's not the same person who left. It began not with a sound, but with a sudden, terrifying absence of one. The arena was alive with the typical Friday night buzz, a steady hum of anticipation. Then the lights cut out completely. It was that split second of absolute darkness, that tiny, breathless void where 20,000 people collectively realized something massive was imminent. The air itself seemed to thin out, sucked away by the sudden vacuum of suspense. Then the first note of her anthem hit the speakers. It wasn't just a theme song, it was a detonator. The reaction wasn't merely cheering. It was a primal, physical force that seemed to shake the very foundations of the arena. You didn't just hear this noise. You felt it vibrating in your chest, a heavy resonance of pure, unfiltered shock. For 365 days, her name had been a ghost story, whispered in online forums and hoped for during every surprise entrance. Skeptics said she was done, that the injuries and the politics had finished her. Now, the ghost was real, standing right there on the ramp. The cameras couldn't even focus properly at first. The stabilizers failed against the sheer vibration of the leaping crowd. In a minimalist view, the audience would just be a frantic sea of waving arms, a chaotic blur of desperate excitement. They weren't just happy, they felt vindicated. They had waited, they had kept the faith, and in this deafening roar, they were proven right. She stood at the top of the ramp, silhouette framed by blinding white spotlights. In the past, this was the moment she would have played to them. Smiled, waved, acknowledged the adoration. Not tonight. Tonight, she stood perfectly still, letting the noise wash over her like a tide breaking against a cliff. There was a hardness to her posture that wasn't there a year ago, a rigidity in her shoulders that spoke of burdens carried in private. When she finally began to walk, the pace was different, deliberate, predatory. Every step down that steel ramp told a story of the last year. She wasn't running back to the embrace of the fans. She was marching toward something specific. The commentary team, usually so quick with superlatives, was momentarily rendered speechless, their headsets likely drowned out by the cacophony in the arena. They didn't need to sell this moment. The moment was selling itself, inside the ring. The current superstar, the one who had been holding court just moments before, was now just an extra in someone else's movie. You could see the shift in dynamic instantly. The confident champion suddenly looked small, their championship belt feeling less like a trophy and more like a target. She didn't slide into the ring. She walked up the steps, methodical and slow. When she finally stepped between the ropes, the music faded, but the crowd noise didn't. They were chanting her name, a deafening mantra of welcome. She didn't smile. She just looked around the arena. her eyes finally landing on the hard camera. The look wasn't one of joy. It was a look of unfinished business, promising that whatever peace existed in this division just officially died. While the arena was in a state of euphoria, the backstage area was likely plunged into immediate, frantic chaos. Imagine the scene beyond the curtain. Producers scrambling, writers frantically rewriting the next hour of television on the fly because she just changed everything. In the wrestling world, a return of this magnitude doesn't just affect one segment. It topples dominoes across the entire roster. Other wrestlers, huddled around monitors in the locker room, would have gone silent. For some, her return means a renewed opportunity for legendary matches. For others, the ones who climbed the ladder in her absence, it means the glass ceiling just got reinforced with steel. The hierarchy they worked so hard to establish over the last 12 months shattered the moment her boot hit the stage. Think about the mid-card talent scheduled for the next segment. How do you follow that? You can't. The oxygen has been sucked out of the building. The backstage interviewers are likely already camping outside her dressing room, desperate for the first quote, the first explanation of where she has been. There is also the inevitable element of legitimate fear. Not physical fear, but professional fear. She is a spotlight magnet. When she is on screen, nobody looks at anyone else. For the current crop of top stars, her presence is an immediate threat to their merchandise sales, their main event spots, and their relevance. The locker room ecosystem, which had perhaps found a stable, comfortable rhythm in her absence, was just thrown into violent disarray. The Queen had returned to a kingdom that had largely forgotten how to serve her, and the adjustment period was going to be painful for everyone involved. Simultaneously, the digital world caught fire. Within seconds of her music hitting, social media trends were monopolized by her name. It wasn't just wrestling fans reacting. It was a pop culture moment that transcended the usual bubble. The sheer volume of posts would be visualized as an overwhelming torrent of data. A digital representation of the arena's physical raw, fan theories, dormant for months, suddenly reactivated. Every cryptic post she might have made over the last year was suddenly being reanalyzed for clues we all missed. Did her black outfit 3 months ago signal this heel turn? Was silence her way of working us all? The internet wrestling community became an instant hive mind of forensic analysis, trying to piece together a timeline that made sense of the silence. Then came the reaction videos. Grown adults crying in their living rooms, children jumping on couches, the raw, unfiltered emotional connection this performer has with her audience was on full display. It's a rare thing in modern entertainment to genuinely surprise an audience that thinks it knows everything. In an era of dirt sheets and leaked spoilers, keeping this a secret was a monumental achievement in itself. This digital storm serves a crucial purpose. It validates the on-screen narrative. To the stickman viewer watching at home, seeing the entire internet lose its collective mind makes the moment feel historic. It's no longer just a TV show segment. It's a globally shared "where were you when" event. The noise online ensures that even those who missed the live broadcast will feel the aftershocks by morning, forcing them to tune in next week just to see what happens when the dust finally begins to settle. The most captivating part of her return wasn't the noise, but the silence that preceded it. For a full year, she gave us nothing. In today's hyper-connected world, where every superstar is expected to share their breakfast on Instagram, her total radio silence was almost disturbing. It built a mythology around her absence. Was she hurt more seriously than we knew? Did she walk away because she lost her passion? That silence was now a heavy character in the story. As she stood in the ring, you could feel the weight of those 365 unexplained days. Every scar, every moment of doubt she might have faced while sitting at home was etched into this new, harder demeanor. She didn't need to grab a microphone and list her grievances. Her presence did the talking. We have to wonder what it was like for her, watching from the sidelines as the division moved on without her, seeing others claim the accolades that she felt were hers. That kind of observation breeds a very specific kind of resentment. It's a slow-burning fuel that likely powered her through rehabilitation or training. The commentary team began to speculate, their hushed tones adding to the mystery. They spoke of rumors and reports, but the truth was, nobody knew. This mystery is vital. If we knew she was just filming a movie, the magic would be gone. But because we don't know, we project our own struggles onto her. We see her as a phoenix rising from mysterious ashes. That relatable struggle of being forgotten and having to fight your way back into memories, what makes her return resonate so deeply on an emotional level. In the ring, the camera caught a fleeting glimpse of someone at ringside, perhaps a former tag team partner or an old rival who had softened over time. The look exchanged wasn't one of warm welcome. It was complicated. A year is a long time in wrestling. Alliances shift like sand dunes. People who were her staunch defenders a year ago might have found new champions to back this. There's a unique melancholy in returning to a place you once ruled, only to find your old friends have comfortable new lives that don't include you. She likely realized in that moment that she was truly alone. The roster had adapted to her absence. They had filled the void she left. Her return wasn't filling a gap. It was forcing open a space that had already closed up. This realization seemed to fuel the coldness in her eyes. If there were old friends in that locker room, they were now potential casualties. The narrative had shifted from "we miss her" to "how do we deal with her?" You could see it in the body language of the surrounding performers, the slight flinching, the protective stances. They knew that to re-establish her dominance, she would have to tear down what they had built. The tragedy of her return is that to reclaim her throne, she might have to destroy the very people who once helped her build it. The quiet understanding of this impending betrayal hung heavy in the air, a sad counterpoint to the ecstatic cheering of the fans who just wanted to see their hero back. Unaware of the personal costs about to be paid, focus now shifts to the person, she interrupted, the current champion. Until 5 minutes ago, this champion was the undisputed top dog, confident and secure. Now they are visibly shaken. It's a fascinating psychological study that plays out entirely in facial expressions and subtle body shifts. The champion stood in the corner, clutching the title belt a little tighter. That belt is their identity, their validation. But against this returning legend, the belt suddenly felt like a prop. The champion realized that even with the gold around their waist, they were suddenly the B-side of this feud. It's a terrifying position for a top star to be in. They have carried the company for a year, done all the media appearances, wrestled every house show, only to be instantly overshadowed by someone who hasn't taken a bump in 12 months. The unfairness of it must be staggering. Yet, they can't show that fear. They have to stand tall. The inevitable stare-down that followed was electric. The champion trying to project strength, the returnee effortlessly exuding it. The champion was fighting for their professional life in that moment, knowing that if they flinched now, they would already have lost the mental battle. This is where the drama truly lies, not in the moves they will eventually trade, but in this silent struggle for alpha status. The champion has everything to lose, while the returnee has nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's a dangerous imbalance that promises violent corrections in the weeks to come. When she finally accepted a microphone, the arena went from deafening noise to pin-drop silence in seconds. This is ultimate power, the ability to command absolute stillness from thousands of adrenaline-filled people. They hung on her every breath, desperate for the explanation, the mission statement. Her first words weren't a catchy catchphrase. They were quiet, almost dangerously soft. She didn't shout to the rafters. She spoke as if she were talking only to herself, and we were just eavesdropping. "Did you miss me?" she might ask, not with arrogance, but with a chilling curiosity. She didn't pander. She didn't say, "It's great to be back in city name." She spoke of clarity. She spoke of watching the show from a distance and seeing complacency. She called the current era soft without ever using the word "t." The tone was different from her past self. The old version of her might have been fiery and loud. This version was cold steel. It was a mature, cynical perspective that only comes from time away. She made it clear she wasn't back to make friends or sell t-shirts. She was back because something was wrong with the industry she loved, and she was the only one capable of fixing it. The promo didn't just set up a match, it established a new philosophical conflict for the entire show. As the show fades to black, we must consider the human element beneath the superhero presentation. Once the adrenaline dumps and she is back in the quiet of a hotel room, the reality of what she just restarted will hit her. Returning is harder than debuting. When you debut, you have zero expectations. When you return, you are competing not just against the current roster, but against the memory of your former self. The fans remember her greatest hits. They don't remember the blown spots or the off nights. She now has to live up to a flawless, idealized version of herself that exists in the fans' nostalgia. The physical toll will be immediate. Ring rust is real. The first few bumps after a year off feel like car wrecks. She will wake up tomorrow sore, bruised, and perhaps questioning if she made the right choice. There is also the emotional pressure. She has instantly become the focal point of a billion-dollar company's programming again. The ratings rest on her shoulders. If the numbers don't go up, the critics will say her time has passed. It's an immense, crushing weight to carry, all while trying to maintain that stoic, unbreakable character on television. The stickman animation here would show her alone, perhaps icing a shoulder, staring at a reflection that looks just a little more tired than the fans realized. And here lies the twist, the deeper meaning behind the viral moment. We all assumed she came back for the championship. We assumed she came back because she missed the spotlight. But as the weeks will likely reveal, her return wasn't about validation, was about closure. Perhaps she didn't come back to stay. Perhaps she realized during that long year of silence that she never got to say goodbye on her own terms. The last time she left, it was forced by injury, by circumstance, by politics. This time, she came back to write her own ending. The hardness in her eyes wasn't ambition, it was resolve. The resolve to finish the story the right way, win or lose, and then walk away when she decides it's time. In a world of scripted outcomes, that autonomy is the only real victory. The crowd exploded because they thought they were getting their hero back forever. They didn't realize they were actually witnessing the beginning of her final, glorious farewell tours. And that bittersweet reality makes every moment of this new run infinitely more precious.